Hi there, welcome back to My Hot Kitchen. I'm Wendy, and you and I are cooking up romantic meals for you to seduce your sweetie with. This week's romantic meal will feature grilled whiskey and cola steaks, prosciutto wrapped asparagus, an orzo pilaf, a nice green salad with a strawberry ceviche dressing, and strawberry and cream parfaits for dessert. So let's get going on the steaks. The very first thing that you're going to do is mix up your marinade. So I have 4 ounces of cola, 2 ounces of whiskey, a nice big dollop of mustard, and that's going to be it for the marinade. Just whisk those together. Whisk it with love. Now this marinade is well suited for a variety of steaks. It'll work with the cheap ones and the expensive ones. I've got a couple of New York steaks here that I'm working with, but you can also use top sirloin or ribeye or, well, really any type of red steak that you like, red meat that you like. I'm gonna give it a little flip here, and then once I have it in the marinade, I'm gonna crust it with peppercorns. I've got my pepper meal set here on about its coarsest setting that it'll do. And what I'm looking for is just like a nice thin layer that evenly coats the steaks. All right, and I'm just gonna press those into the steak a little bit so that they stay on there when I flip them over, and so that they stay on there when I grill them as well. It's a very flavorful marinade. Remember, I discovered it a couple months ago when we had some old cola laying around and a little bit of whiskey left over from a party we hosted. I just put them together on the steak and it was magical. One more flip here. See, most of those stayed on there. All right, and I'm just gonna wash my hands real quick, get these guys in the fridge. Like to have safe romantic nights in around here. All right. Alrighty, just gonna grab the elements that I'm gonna need for dessert here. A couple of eggs and a cup of milk. You wanna keep these cold until you're ready to use them. Alrighty, and then the next step is to take your milk and pour it in a saucepan. I pre-warmed my saucepan just a little bit to kind of expedite the process along. And then whisk in a couple tablespoons of sugar and a tablespoon of vanilla. Whisk it lovingly until you feel that all the sugar crystals have dissolved into the milk. Keep your heat on a nice medium-low temperature and bring the milk up to just barely a simmer. That's when you're going to know that it's warm enough to whisk into the eggs. Alrighty, and then it's all about the eggs right now. So what you want to do is just break your eggs. I'm going to go ahead and reuse the bowl that I put the milk in. It's all going to end up mixed together anyway, so it's not a big deal. Just saving myself a dish. And the cornstarch, I have a tablespoon of cornstarch here to help stabilize the custard. It's really going to turn it into what's called a pastry cream. And whisk together the cornstarch and the eggs. Whisk it until it's one nice, smooth, creamy yellow consistency. Now the end result is going to be the best tasting pudding you've ever had in your life. It's going to be better than anything you've ever had at the store or anything you've ever made from a box. And this type of filling goes really well to fill up like eclairs or in between layers of a cake. It's very versatile. Once you figure out how to make it, there's no looking back. And the cornstarch, the whole reason that you want to whisk that into the egg yolks now is because you want to mix it when it's cool. And then when you add the milk into the eggs at the end and add it all back into the pan, then the cornstarch will have its chance to thicken up your custard. All right, I'm going to go wash the raw egg off my hands because I don't want to cross-contaminate the strawberries with raw egg. So as your milk comes up at temperature, you're going to want to make sure to stir it or whisk it to help keep the sugar in suspension and also to help prevent a skin from forming on top of the milk. Just do it intermittently. You don't have to stand here and babysit the pot the whole time. So now I'm going to get the strawberries going. Now, I love strawberries. They're so simple and so elegant. They look like little hearts when you cut them up. They're bright red, and they're my favorite fruit. One thing I really like about them is the ease in which they mix with sugar, and the magic that happens once the sugar is mixed with the strawberries. The acids from the berries dissolve the sugar, and they combine together to make a lovely, lovely little sauce. So I'm just gonna fold the sugar in and let the strawberries do the rest of the work. So just set those aside and keep a close eye on your milk. Oh, that smells really, really good. Okay, I'm starting to see the bubbles. It means I've just barely approached boiling point. That's exactly when you want to pull it off the heat here and start tempering it into your egg mixture. Now the tempering process, it seems complex, but it's really not. All you're doing is just adding a little hot milk into your cold eggs and cornstarch while whisking so that you can heat the eggs up so that you can put them back on the heat and cook it all together without them curdling. Easy does it, a little bit at a time, constant whisking. Do it until you've mixed all the milk into the eggs. And you've got a couple things working in your favor here to thicken up your custard. You've got the eggs, which are going to coagulate under the heat, and you've got the cornstarch, which is going to thicken it up even more when it comes up to a boil. Put it back in its little pan here. And then over nice low heat, cook it, stirring it lovingly and intermittently until it thickens up enough to coat the back of the spoon. Alrighty, I'm starting to see it thicken up here, so I'm going to switch over to a whisk because what's happening is the cornstarch is thickening up. And as it's thickening up, it's lumping up a little bit. If you whisk it while it thickens, you should be able to work out all of those lumps. It's thickening with each whisk. It's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off the heat here and continue whisking it until I see that it's completely smooth. That'll do. I'm just going to move that out of the way and bring on the Parfait glasses. This is a fun little take on strawberries and cream here. I'm going to layer up strawberries and cream and then eat them together and enjoy it. It'll be so good. Your sweetie's going to be really impressed with this. A little layer of strawberries on the bottom. Yummy. And a nice little layer of the pastry cream. Another nice layer of strawberries. And you should see them sinking into the cream just a little bit. That is just fine. More cream. And it should be just enough for two tasty looking little parfaits. Garnish with a bit more strawberry. And then the final touch you'll do right before you serve it to your sweetie. A nice little dollop of whipped cream on top. In the meantime, these guys are ready to go in the fridge. Make sure that you store them in the fridge so that they stay safe to eat. The eggs are cooked, but only kinda, so keep it cold so it's nice and yummy and safe. Alrighty, now it's time to talk about the salad. So I talked about a strawberry ceviche, and basically all that means is that I'm going to macerate the strawberries in vinegar and sugar and olive oil and turn them into a salad dressing. So I have, a nice big handful of quartered strawberries and a couple tablespoons of sugar here. And I'm going to mix those together first, because as we talked about with the dessert, strawberries and sugar love each other. There we go. Now I'm going to pour balsamic vinegar over these. And the vinegar is going to work on the strawberries just like the sugar does. It's going to kind of break them down and soften them up and kind of like cook them a little bit, per se. A little olive oil now. This is what makes it a salad dressing. And salt and pepper. Strawberries are fun because they go from sweet to savory so elegantly. And then some herbs. I have some chives, I have some basil, and I have just a little bit of lavender mixed in there because I like the way that lavender plays off of fruit. I'm going to toss these together. Get it all nice and happy in there. And just let these soak for a little while. Toss it up at the very end. Go ahead and just steal one of those for myself right now. And move on to the orzo. Ooh, that's really yummy. So you've had rice pilaf, I'm sure. I've made rice pilaf on this show several times, but have you ever had orzo pilaf? Orzo is an interesting pasta that works both ways. It kind of acts like rice and it kind of acts like pasta. So tonight we'll be cooking up orzo pilaf. Just added olive oil to a pan here, and I'm going to give it a few moments to warm up. Alrighty, well that olive oil looks good and happy to me. I'm going to go ahead and add just a little pat of butter to it. Make it even yummier and happier. Swirl that in. I want to see those nice happy bubbles. It's just happy in here. Alrighty, and then bring on the orzo. Add your dry orzo pasta, 3/4 of a cup, right to all that goodness in there. Stir it to coat it. And then give it a few minutes to let it brown. And also at this time, go ahead and add in a little onion and a little carrot, or other vegetables that you would like. It's a very versatile recipe. I'm just going to saute it all together until I start to see the orzo turning just barely golden brown. Well, that looks good. You can see that some of the orzos are starting to turn a little bit brown. That's just the point when you're going to want to add your liquid. I recommend about 1.5 cups of chicken stock. Pour it on in there. And then similar to rice, you're going to bring it up to a boil, drop it down to a simmer, cover it with a lid. And magically, the orzo is going to absorb most of the liquid. This is also your one shot to season it up, so go ahead and add your salt and your pepper and whatever sorts of seasonings make you really happy. And call it good. Alrighty, we're just approaching a boil here, so I'm going to go ahead and put my lid on right now. I'll keep a close eye on it. So my orzo has been simmering for a couple minutes. I'm just going to reach in there with my spoon and give it a little stir. It's going to help to give it a creamy texture. And I can see that almost all the liquid has been absorbed at this point. So I'm going to take it off the heat so that it doesn't get dry. And then I'm going to give it a little taste. That is really, really good. All right, on to the asparagus. So I'm gonna bring my cutting board over here so I have a nice surface to work with. And here's my asparagus, my prosciutto. So I keep my asparagus in water, just like I would a bouquet of flowers, until I'm ready to use it. That helps keep it nice and fresh. And since I'm gonna be grilling it, it helps keep it hydrated and moist while it's grilling. Now I'm gonna sort out this asparagus so that I am matching lengths. I'm gonna work in groups of 2 and 3 depending on the thickness. And this asparagus was just picked this morning at our local farm. So it's extra special, fresh, and delicious. There we go. Alrighty, that should do the trick right there. Now I'm going to take my prosciutto and I'm going to tear it or actually I will cut it into long thin strips, and I'm just going to wrap it around the asparagus. Prosciutto is kind of stretchy, so it will act like a rubber band to hold your asparagus together. It's kind of cool. Now you may have seen some people do this with bacon, and I'm not such a fan of that technique because I find that the bacon doesn't always cook all the way through. And I don't know about you, but I don't like serving my sweetie raw meat. So the prosciutto has been cured and it's edible in its form that it's packaged in. So it's perfect for this. It imparts the flavor like bacon would, but with no risk of raw meat. All right, I'm just gonna bring these semi-delicate little guys over here so that we have the minimum transit space. Fire up my grill, and then I'm gonna put these on there when it's nice and hot. Oh yeah, it feels good and hot now. All right, let's pop these babies on the grill. Since these are so long, I guess I'm gonna have to place them lengthwise. Cross them gently over the grates here. Put them on like that, that should work. Ooh, these are gonna be so tasty. Then, give them a little brush with olive oil or butter or something to help them keep moist while they're grilling. Well, those are looking outstanding. I love how the prosciutto is crisped up on them. So I'm going to gingerly pull them off the grill. I actually have a pan set aside over here. So I'm going to be keeping them in the oven for a few minutes while I cook off the steaks and toss the salad. Because I want the asparagus to be nice and warm still when we sit down to eat dinner. And the other reason is that I don't necessarily want the raw meat from the juice to cross-contaminate the asparagus. Alrighty, and now it's time to grab the steaks out of the fridge. Yummy! I'm gonna take a couple slices of onion here, dip them in the marinade, put these on the grill, being going first. And then bring on the steaks. One final flip, just to make sure they're all covered in the flavor, and onto the grill. I'm gonna wash my hands. Look at those strawberries, that's fun. They've softened up quite a bit. Almost looks like they shrank down as they imparted their juices into the balsamic. So let's go ahead and toss that together with some lettuce and some chev cheese, or feta or blue cheese would be really good in this recipe too, and croutons. Yum. Go ahead and flip these little onions here. Just be a nice little garnish for the steak. Got a lot of juices coming to the top here, so I'm going to go ahead and flip these guys over. Yum. Wow, that looks really good. So I'm going to go ahead and enhance the yummy charred flavor with a little bit of butter. It's going to add a nice little shine to it. It's what they do to your steak in the restaurant. Get the asparagus out of the oven because the steaks are almost done. these up here. These things are wild. Steaks feel good to me. I like them about medium rare. There. Little onion action on top. Bring on the pilaf. Its texture gets a little bit better if you fluff it before you serve it. And doesn't that look good? It's ready to go on the table. Some nice work. You just grilled up another awesome steak dinner to share with your sweetie. Pair this up with a nice rich red wine like a Merlot or a Cabernet Sauvignon or a whiskey and cola and call in your sweetie. Goodbye. Honey.
Kitchen.
Thank you.
Wow, this looks so good.
Hey.
This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night-night. Pet the kitties.